After the divorce, I got 500 million and took my child back to my parents' home. I went to the supermarket to buy gifts for my family and saw my mom shopping. Called her and told her I wanted to have ribs for dinner. She asked why I suddenly came back. I pretended to be sad and said that I got divorced and was kicked out by my husband, and I would be staying at home from now on. She hung up the phone immediately. When I looked up again, my mom was helping my sister-in-law try on a maternity dress. Hurry, Divina got divorced and wants to come back home. Just say you need to rest for the pregnancy and take over the house. Don't let her take it back. My sister-in-law gritted her teeth in anger. Is she crazy? Who's going to support us if she's divorced? There's no place for her here. If she wants to stay, she has to pay. My hand, which was about to redial, froze, and the ice cream in my mouth lost its sweetness. Even though it was 35 degrees outside, I felt a chill from head to toe. My daughter brought me back to reality. Mom, what's wrong? Anna, mommy is just too hot. It's so hot that my eyes are sweating. I wiped my tears and took my daughter for another ice cream to calm down. Growing up, my brother and I had the best relationship. If he knew I was divorced, he would definitely feel sorry for me. Holding on to that last bit of hope, I went home. My daughter happily ran to my mom, but my mom grumbled with a dark expression. Divorced? Fine, but bringing along a burden too. The dining table was set with my brother's favorite braised pork trotters, my sister-in-law's favorite steamed fish, and my dad's drinking snacks, but there were no ribs as I had requested. I deliberately asked, Mom, no ribs? Didn't you go to the supermarket today? My mom impatiently explained, it's so hot today I didn't feel well, so I didn't go out. If you really want to eat, order takeout. I lowered my head and chuckled coldly, seeing through but not pointing out her lie. I dragged my suitcase back to my room. When I opened the door, I found it filled with my nephew Andy's toys. Mom, where's my bed? This room is so messy. Where will Anna and I sleep tonight? My mom didn't even turn her head. You suddenly come back since you're usually not home. It's now Andy's playroom. 6-year-old Andy muttered, what? I don't even play in this room. Before he could finish, my mom covered his mouth. I instantly understood that it was a lie. Anna and I will stay in this room tonight. Please help me clean it up. At this moment, my sister-in-law Jane rushed out. Divina, what do you mean? Do you come back to take over the child's room? What kind of aunt does that? Don't think that just because you paid for the house, you can bully us. A married daughter is like spilled water. Even if the room isn't for Andy, it's not for you either. Jane pointed at the room, yelling, and I couldn't be bothered to argue with her. I turned to my mom and asked, Mom, what do you mean? You don't want me to stay here, do you? My mom sighed helplessly. Divina, it's not that we don't want you here. Your dad just broke his leg, and I can't take care of him. This room has to be for the caretaker. What a coincidence. They really went to great lengths to drive me away. Jane looked at me triumphantly. I wasn't angry. I picked up a toy car from the room and threw it out. There are so many idle people in the house. Why hire a caretaker? Let Andrew and her take care of Dad. Jane, as if her tail had been stepped on, screamed hysterically. What do you mean, Divina? Who's idle? Do you think just because you give some money, you're fulfilling your duty? Isn't it me and Andrew taking care of Mom and Dad all the time? I'm telling you, go back to where you came from, or live on the balcony. Why should I? I coldly questioned, throwing out a toy bear. Spoiled Andy rushed up to hit me. You are throwing my toys. I'll beat you, you bad woman. Most of these toys were bought by me. Looking at this brat, it's impossible not to feel hurt. My daughter saw me being bullied and started fighting with Andy. The two kids' screams and cries finally brought my brother, who was playing games, out. What's all this noise? Over such a small matter, sis. You can stay at home, Jane, and I will move out. I finally felt a bit touched. At least all the care I gave him wasn't in vain. There was still someone in this family who cared about me. At the dinner table, I kept a cold face. My brother smiled and kept adding food to my plate, concerned. Sis, did you and brother-in-law have a fight? It's enough already. You two are an old couple. I think this time brother-in-law will have to spend a lot again. As soon as he said this, my mom and Jane's eyes sparkled. In the past, whenever I had conflicts with my ex-husband, I would come home to relax. Each time, he would come to bring me back and generously give my parents money. My brother and Jane naturally benefited from it too. But unfortunately, this time they would be disappointed. Without changing my expression, I solemnly announced, no fight. We're already divorced. Anna is with me. So, I will be staying here long term. You two don't need to move out. Just clear out that room for me. My younger brother was quite shocked after repeatedly confirming that I was indeed divorced. He couldn't even eat his pig's trotter. His face changed on the spot, and he threw down his forks. Sis, are you out of your mind? If you get divorced, what will happen to my future? He yelled. It was my ex-husband who helped him get his job. Jane also complained. I don't care. Andy must attend the private school. Sis, you should go apologize and reconcile with my brother-in-law. My mother sighed even more. How could I have such a useless daughter? Is it because you couldn't give birth to a son that he didn't want you? No one in my family cared why I got divorced or how I felt. They only cared about their interests. I didn't bother arguing with them and simply said that I would never go back or remarry. Then, I took Anna off the dining table to tidy up the room. This time, my mother completely dropped her pretense. Why are you tidying up? There isn't enough room for everyone here. Fine, then I'll stay in the unit next door. There was an empty apartment in the next building. I went to find the keys but couldn't. Jane, sitting with her legs crossed and picking at fish bones, said, don't bother looking. That apartment has been rented out. Who told you to rent it out? Why didn't anyone tell me? I asked. That apartment was meant for them to stay temporarily. How dare she take it upon herself? What's your attitude? The household expenses are so high, what's wrong with me collecting some rent? How about the new house? Anna and I will stay there. Jane didn't speak but gave my brother a look. My brother hesitated before finally saying, sis, I forgot to tell you Jane is pregnant with her second child. She needs a quiet place to rest. I meant that we could go to the new house to take care of her pregnancy. I was silent, looking at my younger brother, whom I had always doted on, and asked, really? He avoided my gaze and finally mumbled a yes. So, you mean there's no place for me to stay, right? My mother kept her head down, pretending not to hear. Jane, smacking her lips, said, sis, our family's conditions are not as good as yours. If you want to stay, fine, you can be the housekeeper and take care of mom and dad, and pay $10,000 a month for living expenses, then we won't charge you rent. I could hardly believe my ears. The house I bought, and now I had to pay to stay. Jane, do you think I'm a pushover? Who are you to talk in this house? Are you pregnant? Dare to go to the hospital with me? Jane immediately clung to my brother's arm and cried, Andrew, I can't live like this. Are you just going to watch your sister bully me? To my surprise, my brother immediately turned against me. He shouted, Divina, you got married, so why are you insisting on coming back to live here? If it weren't for mom's soft heart, we wouldn't have taken you and your kid in. If you know what's good for you, go apologize to my brother-in-law, then we can still be a family. At this moment, my father, who hadn't left his room, made a grand entrance, leaning on a crutch. He obviously hadn't learned to use it yet and almost walked briskly. Finally, he plopped down on the sofa, pointed his crutch at me, and scolded, Divina, you came back and caused trouble, making the house a mess. Are you satisfied now? If you have the guts, go fight with your ex-husband. How dare you get kicked out and disgrace us? My eyes instantly reddened. Were these the family members I missed day and night? Did they really treat me as one of their own? I thought coming back would give me some support. I wanted to bring my $5 billion and let the whole family enjoy it together, but I never expected this outcome. Since that was the case, there was no need to share my wealth with them. I held back my tears and asked, so, there's no place for me in this family, right? My mother coldly said, your home is in Sea City, not here. Your divorce embarrassed us. You still have the nerve to come back. Get out. My father chimed in. I laughed. So, this was how they saw me. Fine, you said it yourselves. Don't regret it later. I left home with my daughter in my arms. We took a luxurious car straight to a 5-star hotel.